Let's go across now to Shyama Mishra, who's joining us from Mumbai. She's at the Indian Merchant Chamber there, which is a large industry body of the Western region. And over to you, Shyama. You have a guest with you as well.
Yes, Mark, we all heard that what are the expectations of common people, and it ranges from all the salaried people expecting taxation, a higher rebate in taxation, and they could afford their home. The dream of home should come true to housewives who expect health cover for aged ladies, and also the pregnant ladies. They also expect to the young people. They also expecting from this year's union budget. Let's talk to the industry body, what they are expecting. We have Arvind Pradhan with us, who is the Director General of Indian Merchants Chamber. Sir, welcome to DD News. And action-packed day today for India. What are you expecting from the budget?
Well, we are really looking at this budget with a lot of expectations. The one expectation that we have is that the cost of money, especially for the small industry, should get reduced. As IMC, we represent almost 85% of our members are in the small scale sector. And they find that the cost of money is really high in India. When we compete overseas, or doing anywhere else, we see they have 2% or 4% rate. And here our rates go from 14% to 16% or even more. Now that needs to be looked into by the government, and we are trying to see as to how is it possible that we reduce this amount, this money, the cost of money becomes less for the small scale sector so that they are able to compete. That's one area. The second is in terms of the skill development. The skill development is so very important. Job creation is, I'm sure, it is a priority for any country as such. We are trying to pitch in ourselves also, but we want the support of the government to come up with such proactive policies that people who are employable, not just having degrees, but employable, come out and they are able to give, those people are able to get absorbed in the industry. Those areas are there. And then the corporate sector, we are always looking at, whatever it has always been said, that the corporate tax will be reduced. So that is another area that we are expecting wholeheartedly that this will happen to us. One area I would also like to mention, and as you were saying something in terms of the ladies mentioning about it, but I think the old age, the pensioners, they need to be also looked at in this particular budget, because frankly speaking, they do not have any support when they become old. And I'm talking about myself actually. Okay. When they become old, they look at how do they sustain their own, their status, the way they live, and what happens to their hospitalization. Yes. At times, if you feel that if you are really sick, you better die rather than to do anything else. So that shouldn't be the case. It should be that there should be support from the government.
Okay. Post demonetization, this is the first budget, and we are expecting that some mention about demonetization would definitely be there. What are you expecting on that? And also, we are very positive that GST would be implemented from July. What are you expecting on that?
No, the GST first, and I think that's a great measure. We are all rooting for that. We want this to happen, and we are sure that it will happen, and it will be a game changer for the Indian economy. That we are sure of. And in terms of the demonetization, yes, there has been a slight dip in terms of the demand because of the small scale sector, again, those sectors which are hardly banked. But in the long run, it is going to be extremely good for this particular country, for the industry. As we have already seen that, digitization has gone up. We don't really, many of us do not really require the cash money to do our transactions. We do it on the basis of our cell phones. So that has gone in. I think the demonetization and ultimately is going to be very, very good from the long-term perspective of this particular economy. And many people who were, frankly, in the fringes, who were not paying taxes, they are getting covered also. So that for the economy as such, it will be great. Also, I must also mention that money has come in because of demonetization. And that money is remonetizing the banks. So there will be money with the banks. And bank demonetization is so important, and to ensure that they are able to give money to the small scale sector.
So when you're saying the money has come into the banks, so we are expecting higher liquidity. So do you think the common people, common person, who salaried class, who are expecting that they should be having a house of their own, would get any benefit from this?
I personally feel so. I personally feel so, because I think the limits of tax exemption, especially for housing loan, should get increased. Because this is one clear fallout of the remonetization, one, and secondly, of the Prime Minister's policy that housing for all. So why not? This is just the right time when you should give some more sops so to the middle class, to the lower class, whosoever, to be able to buy houses. Why not? Thanks.
Okay. The budget, if we are not talking about agriculture sector, the budget is incomplete. So are you also expecting any policies to come out for the agriculture sector? Because last year we saw it was pro-agriculture. What are you expecting this time?
Agriculture remains a priority for the country, and agriculture will always remain so. In this particular economic survey, we are looking at a high growth of almost 4.1% in terms of agricultural growth. So that will be a major priority. And what I personally feel is that reforms are in the making in terms of, let's say, APMC Act, where the government is talking about a national kind of a digital body where the goods can be traded and sold. Some reforms of those kinds will have to take place, I'm sure. And of course, infrastructure for the agricultural sector, the warehousing part of it, and the way in which the farmers are able to ensure that they sell their produce. They are not able to, they're not, unfortunately it happened in previous years that the produce has gone wasted. So that should not happen, and I'm sure the government is going to look at that.
All right. So, Mark, we heard that the expectations are ranging from corporate tax, post-demonetization. The more emphasis should be on digital transactions. The policies should be made for that. Also for common people. So these are the expectations. Also to you, are you wanting to ask any other question to the guest?
Well, that's fine, Shyama, but yes, I will ask one question, follow-up on demonetization. He did mention that, the tax base would increase. And, in the concept, when we are looking post-demonetization, people are expecting increase in exemption limits for income tax, etc. But when the tax base increases, does that actually have a negative impact? Because, you have more and more people coming into the tax net, but if you give them more and more exemptions, then, one cancels out the other. I hope they can understand that.
When we're talking about after demonetization, money has come in, and we are also expecting the tax bracket should increase. So for a person to get exempted and more people to come under tax bracket, would this have a negative impact on the economy?
My take will be in terms of the growth. You see, ultimately, you're right to say that, well, it will have a stress on in terms of the economy. But there are two aspects in terms of the fiscal management of the budget. One aspect is you continue to remain and be on the track of 3% or so in terms of ensuring that the budget is under control, which is fair, which is good. Yet at the same time, there has to be a trade-off in terms of the growth aspect. So you will have to look at it in terms of ensuring that, can you ensure that you unleash the growth to ensure that later on the economy itself comes up in such a manner that you are able to then control your fiscal budget. See, the point is, if I have 100 rupees with me, and if I'm saying, okay, I have to save this 20 and 80 I will spend. I know that there is an opportunity available. If I spend 90, perhaps I will be getting 150. So what should be more prudent?
Okay.
We'll have to take a trade-off.
Right. Thanks very much,
so
Shyama.
That was it, Mark. Yes.
Thanks very much for joining us from Mumbai. Let's turn to our guests in the studio, Dr. Ashwini Maha.